All right, it's time for the monthly BLS report, or as I like to call it, the BS. They spit out a number that says unemployment went down. It's now at 8.6%. That's the headline number. The media lapdogs will run around and show everybody and say, hey, look, 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 it's an election year and unemployment is going down. It's 8.6%, and everything is in recovery. And of course, then they can blame it on something else in the future. But since nobody's going to question these unemployment numbers in the mainstream media, because obviously there are some great blogs out there, great videos out there, probably being made right now as I speak, about what the hell's going on in these numbers. So let's go straight to the BLS's website. Civilian labor force declined by 315,000 people. People over the age of 16 that are not inmates and not working in the military. I did not have to calculate that. That's actually how they look at it. It's called the civilian non-institutional population. That population rose 172,000, yet people not in the labor force rose by 487,000 to a record. So you've got the population, actually the working population, increasing, but the labor force is decreasing, and people not in the labor force rose by a fairly large number last month, 487,000, now at a record 86.5 million people. People looking for a job rose 192,000 to 6.6 million. Now, the people who are considered marginally attached, that's 2.6 million people who maybe they've given up looking for work, or maybe they just haven't applied in the past 4 weeks. That's at 2.6 million people. Okay, that's on top of the unemployed people who have applied for jobs in the past 4 weeks. The duration of unemployment right now is staggering. It's over 40 weeks. It was 39.4 last month. It's up to 40.9 weeks this month. When you look at people who are unemployed, part-time, but want full-time work, that number is 8.5 million people. Now, that number is actually down, so that's positive, but it's still a very large number. You know, when you look at the overall picture for unemployment, as I've said for many months now, there's no driver for jobs. So there's no internet invention coming. You know, when you look at the internet, it created 20 million jobs. Okay, where is that going to come from? How are we going to absorb all of these jobs, all of these people who want jobs and new people entering the workforce? So that's why I always tell people, if you've got a job or if you can get a job, just get one. You know, I still talk to people, you know, they show their, you know, degrees and stuff, and they're just waiting for this perfect job. It's like, dude, just get a job. Do you understand? The unemployment rate in this country is going to be high for a very long time. And it's a real disservice what the media does. And of course, it's outright deception what the government does. When the government manipulates the numbers and massages the data in order to get you into that Keynesian wealth effect where you want to go to the mall and shop because things are looking good, economy is turning around, better go ahead and get the kitchen because everything's coming together, and you know, I'm not going to be worried about my job because everything's fine. That's what the government wants you to believe, and that's what the media will report without asking questions on what's going on with these numbers. What about the duration of unemployment? Why is the labor force down to a 1983 level? So, you know, with the media not asking these questions, people are just going to assume that things are turning around. And that's where the disservice comes in, because then they may make decisions that are based on not realistic data. What if somebody, for example, had a chance to get a job, and maybe the job paid $15 an hour, and they're like, you know what, I'm not going to work for $15 an hour because unemployment pays 14, or maybe because I want, and by the way, I'm talking about people in California, or maybe because I'm holding off for that $24 an hour, $25 an hour job. If they knew what we were really facing, they might say, you know what, looking at the next year, 2 years, 3 years, things might be pretty rough. I better go ahead and take this job, and I'll work this $15 an hour job while I apply for the job that I want or that I think I deserve. But I'll take this job anyway. Instead, many people are turning down jobs. And literally, I'm hearing about this in my own life. People turn down jobs because they're holding off for something that's just around the corner that's never going to come. I mean, I feel bad for people who tell me, oh, I'm in school to become a teacher, or I'm in school to be, in banking. I mean, come on. Financial institutions are going to be doing huge layoffs in 2012 and 2013. They already started in 2011. Teaching jobs, we're going to have to continue to cut back. All these public sector jobs. So, it's horrible that people base their decisions off of the government. Maybe somebody goes and gets a new car. Maybe somebody makes a decision about not paying off a certain debt because good times are just around the corner. Let's say the government, everything they did was working. Unemployment was really at 8.6%. Let's say everything was really turning around the corner. Okay, what did that cost us? And can we afford that? Can we maintain this? We're borrowing almost 44 cents out of every dollar we spend. We spent trillions of dollars to artificially prop up the economy. So even if everything they did worked, and I don't think for a second that it is or a second that it did, but even if everything they did and everything they say that's going to happen is going to happen, what did it cost us and can we afford it? There's a reason why central banks are buying gold. Central banks have purchased 150 tons of gold in the third quarter of 2011. That is more than double the amount of gold they purchased for the entire year of 2010. Korea just announced that they increased their gold holdings by 39% in just the month of November. Okay, why are central banks buying gold? They create the paper. They create the paper and they hold each other's paper and each other's bonds, government bonds, as their assets. But something is causing those central banks to say, you know what? Maybe I don't want this guy's paper. Maybe I don't want too much of his paper because you know what? He can print and I can print. So what makes his paper better than my paper? And those bonds, what if governments start to default? What if the euro breaks up? The smartest people, the most powerful people, the richest people are buying gold. And the media out there is telling you that gold is in a bubble. I went to the hard asset show. I'm going to put a video on futuremoneytrends.com. I went to the hard asset show. It's probably, I'm going to guess there's probably at least 300 companies there. And they put out a press release that 3,200 people showed up to the hard asset show. Here's the thing. They were counting all the people who were with the mining companies. So you've got at least 2 or 3 people at each booth. So, you look down the hall, and I've been to reptile shows. I've been to home shows, boat shows. I've been to, energy shows as far as alternative energies and stuff. And it's crowded, or a good one for everybody watching is gun shows. It's crowded. There's a lot of people there. I was at this mining show and it was empty. You want to go talk to a CEO of a mining company? And granted, these are smaller companies, but still, there were some bigger companies there too. There was, some companies that were probably just over $1 billion or just under $1 billion. And if you want to go up and talk to the CEO, there wasn't a line of people, line of shareholders waiting to talk to this guy. You just go up and talk to him. So it's so far-fetched that gold could be a bubble when the population is selling gold 10 cents on the dollar, doing gold parties so they can surrender their only asset, their only real asset, that they possibly might have for 10 cents on the dollar. It's horrible what's going on. But we need to think about this because why is the government lying? Why are central banks buying gold? In my opinion, I think, obviously that because of the demographics, especially the ones that Harry Dent brings up, I think we're going into a depression in the United States. But because the central banks are going to counter that depression with inflation, and that's just the printing of money, I think the central banks know something big is around the corner, especially if this euro thing accelerates. All right, you guys have a great day.